What's up, guys? We are back with a full slate of college basketball action here on Thursday, March 13th. We're going to break down almost every NCAA basketball game tonight. We are going to look at bets on the side and over-under, and make sure you are checking that pinned comment throughout the day to see if there are any changes as injury news and player availability is confirmed. Yesterday, guys, went okay. We ended up 2-2 on the day. A weird one out there for sure. Got up to a very hot start. We had Arkansas minus 2.5, a back-and-forth game, but Arkansas ends up getting there in the end. We had San Jose State minus 1.5. That was a 5-point win for them. They looked okay, but Wyoming looked terrible, so we come away with the win there. But unfortunately, Vanderbilt came out completely flat there in the first half. Tried to make a massive comeback, but came up a little bit short, so them minus 1.5 did not work out. We also had Ohio State minus 5.5. Horrible shooting night from them for 3. Just not going to get over the top there if you can't throw it in the ocean from deep these days. So unfortunately, we end up 2-2, but not the end of the world. Guys, we're going to get back after it. Smash that like button. Once we get to 1,000 likes, we're going to give away a Stump the Spread hoodie to one random commenter. And subscribe to the channel if you're new. Once we get to 50,000 subscribers, we are less than 1,000 subscribers away. We're going to give away a free hoodie for that as well. If you're a huge fan of what we do here every single day, you can sign up for a channel membership by clicking the little join button right below the video. Channel members get exclusive early access to all of my videos and get their names up on screen in every video, but more importantly, you'll get access to our monthly members-only giveaways. We'll be giving away a Stump the Spread hoodie to one random channel member on March 20th, the first day of the NCAA tournament. All our videos are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. We have a team of experienced cappers over there. All of us have at least 15 plus years in the industry, and together we cover all the major sports. Right now, our premium members are getting daily college basketball, NBA, NHL, and UFC picks, and Major League Baseball, our most profitable sport the last 3 years in a row, is right around the corner. Click the link in the description to head over to StumpTheSpread.com and see everything we offer, including free-to-use bet size calculators, exclusive free picks not covered in this video, and our premium top confidence picks. If you aren't ready to become a premium member, sign up for our free account to get access to our email newsletter, which will get you free picks straight to your inbox every day and updates on our results. Just make sure to check your spam folder. Comment below with any bets you're looking at today or any other feedback you have for me. I'll personally respond every single one of those comments. As always, our favorite picks will be in the pinned comment down below. Now let's get into our first game of the day. We got Bowling Green taking on Akron there in a 10 a.m. showdown. This is the MAC Championship quarterfinal, guys. Bowling Green comes into this game only 14-17 on the season, fresh off a tough loss there against WMU, a 1-point loss to, close out their regular season. So obviously not exactly what they were hoping for. Over the course of the season, this team has been a little bit all over the place, to be honest. They had won 4 in a row until that loss against WMU. They've had some interesting games. They've had some not so interesting games this year. I mean, they're 8-10 in the MAC, so not a squad that's actually been tearing it up. Their offense, middle of the road at best, 170th in the nation, around 74 points per game. It's not really going to get anybody too excited, especially in the MAC, and their defense, not much better. They've managed to win against the bad teams. Against the better teams, though, it's been a little bit more of a struggle, we'll say. I mean, they lost against Kent State pretty handily the last time they played together. They faced Akron much earlier in the year, like way earlier in the year. Like, when was that game? That game was like the very beginning of the regular, of the conference season, I believe. Yeah, that was back on January 3rd, and we did see them keep it close. It was only a 3-point loss there for Bowling Green, so they played pretty well in that one, but not well enough to get the win, and Akron played horrendously bad in that game. They got crushed on the boards. They didn't shoot the ball well from 3, so a lot of mitigating factors there for that game being close, but Bowling Green can hold their heads up high and know that they should at least theoretically have a chance in this game as they take on the Akron Zips, who come into this one the best team out there in the MAC, guys. 25-6 on the season. They had won 4 in a row coming into this one. A blowout win against Buffalo was their last game, and they've been pretty much riding roughshod over this conference. Their last loss, and was that their only conference loss, was a loss against Ohio, where they just didn't show up there at Ohio and ended up taking the L. But other than that, they've played great. This team puts up a ton of offense, 11th in the nation, scoring 84 points per game. The defense isn't incredible. Obviously, this is a team that prefers to just outscore their opponents, but usually that's going to work out. Their rebounding numbers look good. A lot of that is a function of their very high pace of play, but we've liked a lot of what we've seen from this team in their 88-70 win against Buffalo their last time out. Obviously, Buffalo a terrible team, but still, we saw Akron shoot 35% from 3, a very repeatable number. Had a nice little edge there on the boards. Had how many 4 or 5 double-digit scores. Like, this team comes at you in waves. And looking at the numbers here, it's interesting to see Akron, they're double-digit favorites, guys. 11.5-point favorites. We've got a total of 149.5. Bowling Green, 16-14-1 against the spread, 18-13 to the under. Akron, 14-15 against the spread, 17-11-1 to the over. So in terms of the total here of 149.5, probably not going to be doing too much with that. In terms of a side, guys, unfortunately, and this doesn't feel super fun, but I think we actually have to take Bowling Green in this spot, getting all those points. I'm not saying they're going to win this game. I don't think they will, but I do think they can keep it close. They're going to be in absolute desperation mode here. I don't think Akron's really going to be messing around either, so this isn't a game that's going to end up in the pinned comment, because if Akron really, gets up on this team, they're not going to let up. They're going to blow them out, so this isn't going in the pinned comment, but I definitely think in this, very early morning game, Bowling Green's the side you want. Next up, guys, looking at the ACC tournament, we got Georgia Tech taking on number 1 Duke. The Georgia Tech squad, guys, the Yellow Jackets, 66-60 win against UVA to start off their conference tournament, what they hope will be a deep conference tournament run, but immediately things get pretty brutal as they've got to take on the Duke Blue Devils. This team hasn't found a ton of success this season. 10-10 in conference play doesn't look horrendous. When they played Duke earlier this season, they were on the wrong side of an 82-56 loss, so that probably doesn't feel great. This team doesn't have a monster leading scorer. Lance Terry scoring 15 points per game, fine. Nathan George, 13 points and 6.5 assists, looks pretty good, but aside from their rebounding, it's hard to find a lot of major strengths for this team. They're not great offensively. Their defense is giving up around 72, 73 points per game, and when they played Duke, they gave up 82 points, so that's not amazing. They have played okay down the stretch, winning 4 out of their last 5, so I guess that is something positive to look at, but this team hasn't exactly had a great time, and they are about to take on an absolute powerhouse here in the now number 1 Duke Blue Devils. They're 28-3 on the season. They're fresh off of a nice win there against North Carolina at North Carolina to kind of seal things, end things off on a high note there in the regular season of the ACC, where they absolutely cruised, going 19-1 overall. Cooper Flagg looking like a monster. Bro has locked up being drafted number 1 in the NBA next year, assuming he wants to leave. The possible destinations don't look so hot. Like, do you want to end up in Charlotte potentially? Like, that probably doesn't sound super fun. Or Washington. But Cooper Flagg, nearly 20 points per game, 4.5 assists, shooting 50% from the field. This Duke team, one of the best offensive teams in the nation, scoring over 83 points per game. But the real crazy thing is how good they are on the boards and how good they are defensively. Giving up 61.4 points per game is nuts. They held Illinois to only 67 points in a random non-conference game. They're late. Held UNC to 69 points, and that game was at UNC. Like, we are loving what we are seeing from Duke right now. But looking at this number, guys, it is a gargantuan number. The Blue Devils are 22.5 point favorites here. We've got a total of 143.5. That's a really big number. Now, this game is happening in Charlotte, North Carolina. So basically a home game there for Duke. Got to take that into consideration. Georgia Tech 15-17 against the spread, 19-13 to the under. Duke 21-10 against the spread this season. And they've been huge favorites a lot of times. They are a slight over team. This is not a spot that I'm in love with, guys. I don't love these huge monster favorites, but I just can't justify taking Georgia Tech here. They're just not a good enough team. Duke's going to dominate this game on both ends of the floor. The last time they played each other was an absolute blowout, and I think we see another one here. I just don't think Georgia Tech has what it takes to make this game close. Am I going to be putting a 22.5 point favorite in the pinned comment? No. That's not going to happen. I'm just giving you a slight lean on this one because it's going to be a big time game there on ESPN early in the day, and I thought you might want some input. Rolling right along, guys, we're looking at the Big Ten tournament. We've got Indiana taking on number 23, Oregon. The Hoosiers, 19-12 on the season, 10-10 in conference play this year. They're fresh off of that big 66-60 win there against Ohio State, a game where we got kind of screwed and Ohio State couldn't throw it in the ocean. So well played there by Indiana. They took care of business there, took advantage of the miscues and come away with the win. They haven't exactly had an easy time in conference play this year, but they finished things off much better here down the stretch, winning, 5 out of their last 7 or something like that, and taking down Michigan State and Purdue during that stretch. They also lost at Oregon during that stretch as well, so that's something to take into consideration. That was a loss at Oregon that they fell 73-64. We'll see what happens here, guys. This game, obviously, been playing in Indianapolis, so technically a neutral location, but it's not really a neutral location, guys. This is much closer to a home game there for Indiana, but they're taking on an Oregon team that beat them this season. That's got to be taken into consideration for sure. And Oregon's had a decent year out there in the Big Ten. They finished things up 12-8 in conference play. They're a solid offensive team around top 100 in the nation. The defense isn't bad. The rebounding, it's okay. They don't really have a monster leading scorer. Nate Biddle, 14 points, 51% from the field, looks okay. In their win, that 73-64 win against Indiana, which was a home game for Oregon, we saw the Hoosiers play okay. They shot 36% from three, but the homer angle was in, guys. I mean, Indiana shot 7 free throws and Oregon shot 21. I doubt we see things be that lopsided. We also saw Oregon get way more rebounds, a 43-36 rebounding edge there for the Ducks. So, looking at the numbers for this game, though, Oregon 1.5-point favorites. We've got a total of 142.5. Indiana 17-14 against the spread, 18-13 to the under. Oregon 14-16-1 against the spread, 16-15 to the over. This, I think, is going to be a very close game, guys. But if it is going to be a close game, I'd rather side here with Oregon. I just don't trust Indiana that much. I think we could see them have something of an off shooting night. I think, they're going to be very, very, they're going to be in desperation mode, and that is going to make them, go one way or the other. They're either going to play really, really well, or they're going to not, quite rise to the moment and have a rough time. And I'm kind of leaning towards the rough time angle. Give me Oregon in this one at -1.5. Next up, guys, we got number 12 Iowa State taking on number 17 BYU out there in the Big 12. This is a huge, huge showdown, guys. Iowa State 13-7 in conference play, 24-8 overall. They're fresh off of a blowout 20-point win against Cincinnati, so they've got to be feeling good about that. Now they get a chance to take on BYU and get some revenge because BYU beat them 88-85 not very many days ago, guys. It was in the regular season, obviously, and we've loved what we've seen from Iowa State this year. The problem is, despite being an elite offensive team, an elite defensive team, their rebounding is very mediocre, guys. Around 200th in the nation in total rebounding. Curtis Jones, a solid leading scorer. We love what we're seeing from Keyshawn Gilbert there running the point, but I don't know, guys. It's a little bit sketchy here. And I mean, in that game against BYU, they did come up short, and that was on their home court, but it was a double overtime thriller. What a crazy game there, guys. We did see both teams shoot the same amount of free throws. Iowa State, a mediocre game, shooting the ball from distance. They managed to make this game that close despite getting out-rebounded 52-24. Like, how freaking crazy is that? They shot 39% from the field. Like, that's not great. It's crazy. Looking at the box score, it's how the heck would Iowa State even be in that game? But they found a way, but unfortunately came up 3 points short there in the end. So we'll see what happens in this game, guys. BYU 23-8 on the season, 14-6 in Big 12 play. Very impressive stuff down the stretch, winning their last 8 conference games in a row, including that win over then number 10 Iowa State. This team has some big wins on the resume, taking down Kansas, taking down Arizona, a win against Baylor, which I don't know how big that counts as being still, but you get what I'm saying, guys. This team has done some positive things. They're an elite offensive squad, top 30 in the nation. Their defense not amazing necessarily, but their rebounding is very, very good. And looking at the numbers here, guys, BYU is getting 2.5 points here. We've got a total of 145.5. Iowa State 19-13 against the spread, 19-13 to the under. BYU 19-12 against the spread, 18-13 to the over. In this game, guys, I'm not going to be taking that over-under, but I think we want to be on BYU getting 2.5 points. We did see Iowa State keep things close despite struggling in the first game, but it really feels like BYU is probably the better team in this matchup. This is going to be a very, very exciting game to watch. Definitely pumped to be tuning in for this one, and I think this is a good spot to just go ahead and be on BYU. You're getting a free possession, what could be another extremely close game, and I think that's what we're going to see in this one, so go ahead and give me the Cougars. Hey guys, jumping in here with a quick ad break. This is a great time to sign up for StumpTheSpread.com. Signing up for a premium membership gets you access to our top confidence plays on all the major sports. We're currently covering NCAA basketball, the NBA, NHL, UFC, and the NFL. We have a team of professional cappers that work extremely hard putting in the research on these games every day so you don't have to. We make things very easy for you with pick notifications directly to your phone and unit sizes assigned to each play so you can see where our confidence level is on every individual matchup. To test out the service before you buy, join our free email list, get the occasional free or premium pick straight to your inbox. Just click the link in the description to sign up for a free account. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Now guys, back to the games. Next up, we got the South Florida Bulls taking on Wichita State out there in the American. South Florida only 13-18 on the season, guys. Only 6-12 in conference play. They finished things off not so great with a blowout loss at the hands of Memphis, and now they've got an opening round matchup against a Wichita State team that they lost to 75-70 not all that long ago. So probably not feeling super confident. They did beat Wichita State at Wichita State way earlier in the season, but that revenge spot came through for Wichita State and they took care of business. So a little bit of a tough spot here for the Bulls. I mean, this isn't a team that's been very good this season. They didn't exactly come into the year with high expectations either. Their offense, not great. Their defense, very bad. The rebounding is a problem. They don't have a big-time leading scorer. You guys can kind of see where this is headed, and they're going up against a Wichita State team that Despite being 18-13 on the year and 8-10 in conference play, they played okay down the stretch. They had some nice wins. They went on a nice winning streak there in conference play, winning 6 in a row. Came up a little bit short against UAB, then lost to North Texas in a nail-biter. They knocked off Rice and then lost in a big letdown against Tulsa to end the year. So this squad has a ton of work to do here in the conference tournament. They've been an elite rebounding team all season long. The offensive numbers and defensive numbers don't really raise any eyebrows. Nothing too special there, but like we're seeing from Xavier Bell, he should be the best player on the court in this game. 15 points per game, nothing to turn your nose up at, but not the most efficient scorer either, so we're not going to freak out too much. Looking at the numbers for this game, Wichita State, 3.5-point favorites. We've got a total of 143.5. South Florida, guys, only 9-21 against the spread this season, 20-10 to the under. Wichita State, 13-14-3 against the spread, 19-11 to the under. So with both teams showing such big trends towards the under here, and the last time they played each other, how many total points do we have? I don't think it was anything too crazy. Yeah, it was 145. So it would have technically been an over game. Despite that, I am leaning towards the under in this one. I also think this is a good spot to just go ahead and take Wichita State. I think they're going to win this game comfortably. I don't think South Florida is very good. I think we see the Shockers lock in this spot and take care of business here, winning comfortably by 5 to 8 total points. Next up, guys, we get the Arkansas Razorbacks taking on Ole Miss out there in the SEC tournament. Arkansas 20-12 on the year. They came through for us yesterday with that 72-68 win over South Carolina. A game that looked like it was going to be a blowout, then looked like it was going to be very close, then kind of looked like we were going to see Arkansas lose before they eventually won by 4 and cashed our tickets. So we'll take that for sure. Thank you very much, Arkansas, for the heart attack and the win. This team, not amazing on the boards, but the offense is working out. The defense continues to improve. Calipari, I don't know how much credit he really deserves for this, but they have won 5 out of their last 6 down the stretch. In terms of the conference play success over the year, 8-10, not really going to freak me out too much. They did get that cool win at Kentucky, though. I'm sure that felt very, very nice. This team going to have to rebound the ball a little bit better here in tournament time, and they're probably going to need to do it pretty quick here as they take on the Ole Miss Rebels, who are 21-10 on the year, 10-8 in conference play. They've won 2 out of their last 3 with that loss coming at Florida, which everybody loses at Florida, so we're not going to freak out about that, but taking down Oklahoma and Tennessee, 2 very solid wins. And the Rebels have had some good wins over the course of the year, taking down Kentucky once. And the last time they faced Arkansas, I believe, that was a win, a 73-66 win at Arkansas. So pretty solid stuff there from Ole Miss. Sean Padula, a monster, 15 points, 4 assists per game. This squad can score it 90th in the nation in points per game. They're a decent defensive team. The rebounding, though, is very, very problematic. The last time they played Arkansas, they did do well. They did well. The rebounding problem was not a big problem. They had actually a 1 rebound edge there, so they'll definitely take that. They did shoot a few more free throws, but nothing crazy. They shot the ball much better from the 3-point line, and will they be able to replicate that in this game? Well, guys, the odds makers think it's possible. Ole Miss is actually 3.5-point favorite. We've got a total of 144.5. Arkansas 13-18-1 against the spread, 18-14 to the under. Ole Miss, 15-15-1 against the spread, 16-15 to the over. Guys, I'm going to be leaning a bit towards Ole Miss. What I saw from Arkansas, especially down the stretch there, did not impress me against South Carolina, a very bad team. I think Ole Miss comfortably take care of business this one. Go ahead and knock Calipari here out of the conference tournament. I think we're going to see the Rebels cruise in this game, probably winning it by double digits. Next up, guys, we're back to the MAC. We're looking at Ohio taking on Toledo. The Ohio Bobcats 16-15 on the season, 10-8 there in conference play. They are fresh off of a kind of disappointing effort there, a 14-point loss at Toledo, and now they get to match up against Toledo here in the conference tournament. So definitely desperation mode time here for the Bobcats. They've been a very good offensive team this year, top 50 in the nation, but the rebounding numbers, atrocious. The defensive numbers, not really all that much better, to be honest. AJ Clayton has put up some good point numbers this season. 14 per game, 47% from the field, okay. But I'm not about to freak out about that, guys. And they've lost to Toledo twice this season. The first game was close. Then they had to go to Toledo, and things did not exactly work out there for the Bobcats. They kept things competitive in the first half, but didn't really make it any closer there in the second half. And that was all despite them shooting, the same amount of free throws and shooting the ball much better from 3-point range than their opponent. The problem was they lost on the boards by 4, and just in general looked pretty overmatched. So we'll see what they can do in this one, guys. Taking on the Toledo Rockets 17-14 on the year, 10-8 in conference play for Toledo. They had been struggling, guys. They lost 4 in a row before that win against Ohio. They played a kind of tough game against Akron, lost a laugher at Kent State, getting absolutely demolished. So we'll see if they can reel it back in and repeat here against Ohio. This is a good offensive team, guys. Top 80 in the nation, 78 points per game, nothing wrong with that. Their rebounding numbers also not great, but they did slightly out-rebound Ohio in their earlier meeting this season, so they'll take that. Their defense hasn't been good, obviously giving up 82 points in their last game against Ohio doesn't look very good either, but you can definitely say this team has the better player. I mean, Sam Lewis Jr., definitely the best player on the court in this one. We love what we're seeing from Isaiah Adams as well. This squad definitely has some pieces. I mean, Sonny Wilson, 15 points per game, shooting 52% from the field. Like, there's a case for maybe the best 2 to 3 players are probably on this Toledo squad. And I'm pretty shocked to see the Rockets getting 3.5 points in this one. We've got a total of 161.5. Ohio, 12-18 against the spread, 19-10-1 to the over. Toledo, 14-16 against the spread, 16-14 to the over. You could take the over if you wanted, guys. I mean, we saw 178 total points scored the last time these two teams faced each other. So I could wrap my head around over 161.5, no problem there. But I think you're much better off taking Toledo getting the free points. I think they're the better team. You could take them on the money line here if you wanted to. I think they're probably going to win this game relatively comfortably. Like I said, they are, at least in my eyes, the more talented squad. Could it be a problem in this one that this game is being played in Ohio and is borderline a home game for both of these teams? Sure, it could be a little bit crazy, but I still think Toledo in the points is where we want to be. Next on the docket, we're looking at the Davidson Wildcats taking on St. Louis out there in the A-10. Davidson comes into this game fresh off of that 69-65 win against Richmond that, got them through their first game. So they're going to try and keep things rolling here, in the Atlantic 10 tournament. Davidson didn't have a great year, only 6-12 in conference play, and they had actually lost 4 in a row, including a loss against SLU coming into this one. But that was a 1-point game that really could have went either way. So Davidson probably has some confidence coming in this one. Reed Bailey, a monster, 19 points per game, 4 assists, 50% from the field there from Connor. So yes, there's some good stuff out there for this team to hang their hat on. Not rebounding, though. The rebounding pretty mediocre. The defense also not great, and they have struggled at times. That was a very nice game they played against St. Louis, a very low-scoring game. They gave up a 9-point halftime lead to eventually lose by 1, though. That probably burns a little bit. The Billikens, guys, they come into this game 18-13 on the season, 11-7 in conference play, so clearly the better team out there in the conference, and they're fresh off of a 2-point win against Duquesne, a squad that likes to play some close games, the Billikens do. They did blow out Loyola of Chicago, so that's something, but yeah, I'm a little bit concerned, although it does show that they can bounce back in these revenge spots because they lost against Loyola of Chicago and then blew them out. So we'll see what they can get done here. This team, I mean, Gibson Jimerson, a monster, 18 points per game. Nothing wrong with that. Isaiah Swope, a monster as well. Robbie Avila there in the paint, somebody you never hate to see down there. 50% from the field, 17.4 points per game. This team can score a bit. The rebounding numbers aren't great, but they're much better than Davidson's. Their defensive numbers aren't great, but they're okay. And their offensive numbers, those will definitely work. So looking at the numbers here, guys, St. Louis, 3.5-point favorites. We got a total of 141.5. Davidson, 15-16 against the spread this year, 16-15 to the over. We see SLU, guys, only 11-18 against the spread, 21-8 to the under, so a big under team. The last time these two teams played, very little offense, obviously, 113 total points, so I would definitely look at under 141.5 in this game. I think that's super reasonable, but I also like St. Louis here to get the win and cover. I think that's a very good spot as well. To really either one of those plays have a chance to end up in the pin comment, if you ask me. I don't think we're going to see some sort of transcendent scoring performance from either squad here, so the under is definitely live, and I also think St. Louis wins this comfortably. Next up, guys, we've got a big one out there in the Big East. We've got number 25 Marquette taking on Xavier. The Golden Eagles, 22-9 on the season, 13-7 in conference play. They're fresh off of a tough 86-84 loss against St. John's to end their regular season. So now they got to come into the into the postseason with a little bit of a sour taste in their mouth. They actually lost their last 2 in a row. So losing at Connecticut and then against St. John's, so those aren't necessarily terrible losses. Now they're going to take on an Xavier team that they did beat by 2 earlier in the season, and or lose to by 2, and also beat by 2 this season. So very, very close stuff in this matchup, guys. We've loved what we've seen from Cam Jones this season, obviously, there for the Golden Eagles. 18, 19 points per game, 6, 7 assists per game, almost 50% from the field. Like, very little wrong with that. This team plays some defense, giving up only 67.6 points per game. That all checks out. That all looks very, very good. But their rebounding is definitely a big concern. The last time they played against Xavier, things didn't look great. I mean, in the second half, it looked a lot better. The first half looked pretty terrible. The rebounding numbers were close, but Marquette did come out on the short end. We also saw Xavier shoot more free throws, but also Xavier could throw it in an ocean from deep and still manage to get the 2-point win. So none of that probably feels very good if you're Marquette here, and you'd like to go on a tournament run, I would assume. Taking the Musketeers here, who are 21-10 on the year, an identical 13-7 there in conference play. They come into things riding high. They've won their last 7 in a row. They took down Providence 76-68 their last time out. So I'm sure that felt very, very good. And yeah, this team continues to put up some pretty decent numbers. They're not a great rebounding team either, guys, but that's not a big problem against Marquette. They're a very good offensive team. Their defensive numbers are solid. Zach Fremantle is a monster. Going to be very hard to stop. 17 points per game, 53% from the field. Like, this is definitely a squad to be afraid of, a squad that can score it, and in this spot, a squad that's getting 2.5 free points. We've got a total here of 144.5. Marquette 14-16-1 against the spread, 17-12-2 to the under. Xavier 17-14 against the spread, 17-14 to the under as well. Am I going to take the under in this game? It seems kind of unlikely to me. I don't think I'm super interested in that, but I'm very interested in Xavier getting 2.5 points at home. I think this is a very good spot for them. I think they're the better team. I do think there is the possibility of this being a close game, but I also think there's a possibility Xavier just wins this one convincingly. I think they're going to have the best player on the court in this one, and Zach Fremantle, at least in this specific matchup. And I think that's all going to boil down to Xavier getting 2.5 free points being the best play. Now, guys, back to the ACC. We've got North Carolina taking on Wake Forest. The Tar Heels 21-12 on the season, 13-7 in conference play. They're fresh off a blowout 20-point win against Notre Dame, so they'll definitely take that. Maybe not a situation they would have wanted to end up in, but yeah, we saw Withers pour in 7 3-pointers in the win, and yeah, that game really not competitive. So loving what we're seeing here right off the bat for North Carolina. They were a great offensive team all regular season long, just not quite good enough to bust into that top group there in the ACC of like Duke, Clemson, and Louisville. So we'll see if they can make some noise in this one. They're taking on a Wake Forest team that's not exactly super scary. We've seen RJ Davis be good this year, so this team definitely pointed in the right direction. Wake Forest also 13-7 in conference play, 21-10 on the year. They're fresh off a blowout 69-43 win against Georgia Tech, so they're cruising right now. They've got to be feeling pretty good about where they're at. Hunter Salas probably has a case as possibly the best player on the floor in this game. We'll see. 18 points, 3 assists, 47% from the field is nice, but the numbers for his team overall have been lacking for sure. 346 in the nation total rebounding. Not a great offensive team either. Their pace of play doesn't necessarily help these numbers, and they did beat North Carolina by 1 earlier in the season. That was a home game for Wake Forest. Not an easy place to play, obviously. North Carolina had a hell of a time. Only shot 10 free throws. Wake Forest shot 27. North Carolina shot only 25% from 3. That's not going to work, and they got out-rebounded. So, looking at the numbers for this one, you might be surprised to see Wake Forest getting 5.5 points, but guys, I am not. We've got a total of 147.5 here. North Carolina 13-19-1 against the spread, 18-15 to the over. Wake Forest 13-17-1 against the spread, 18-13 to the under. Guys, I'm going to be taking North Carolina here minus 5.5. I think they're the far better team than Wake Forest. I know Wake Forest may be in desperation mode here, but I don't really think that's going to make a huge difference. North Carolina is absolutely cruising right now. They're going to be looking for vengeance for that last game. If Hunter Salas is maybe the highest scoring player on the court, I don't know if he's really going to be the best. I think we see UNC go out and take care of business here. Next up, guys, we have the Colorado Buffaloes taking on number 2 Houston out there in the Big 12 tournament. Colorado took care of business in their first round game, knocking off West Virginia 67-60, and a kind of a sizable upset. This team has obviously been terrible all year long, the worst team in the Big 12, but they're making some noise now. They've won their last 3 in a row, taking down TCU twice, and then this win against West Virginia. So, yeah, pretty good stuff there. Obviously, things working out, but I don't know, guys. Colorado shot their free throws really well there against, in their first tournament game, and then followed it up with a pretty good, 7-point win there against West Virginia. So they'll take it. I mean, this team was 300th in the nation in offense during the regular season, 200th in rebounding. So not a squad that you would necessarily be scared of out there, but we'll see what they can do. The last time they played Houston, they played them tough. It was a 10-point game. Houston did come away with a win there, but the Cougars are a team that's been very, very scary. They're number 2 in the nation, 27-4 on the year. They finished the regular year 19-1 in the Big 12. That's crazy, crazy work, guys. They beat Baylor, not a blowout though. They beat Kansas, not a blowout either. They beat Cincinnati, not a blowout. So not a team that's been blowing teams out recently. They did go on a stretch where they were blowing everybody out for a while there. So we'll see what happens against Colorado. The last time they faced them, which not all that long ago, was at Colorado. So I guess I'll cut them a little bit of slack. But Houston definitely did not play their best game. Like, not what you would expect from Houston here. And I don't know, their season-long numbers look crazy good, so you have to give them some respect there. It's a little bit brutal, but guys, looking at the numbers here, Houston 17.5-point favorites. We've got a total of 127.5. Guys, Colorado 15-17 against the spread, 17-14-2 to the under. We see Houston 16-15 against the spread, 17-13-1 to the under. So yeah, a little bit tough here. I'm going to personally be leaning a bit towards Colorado in the points. You could also maybe talk me into the under, but that seems a little bit unlikely. So yeah, just go ahead and give me a small look here at, at Colorado in the under, but mostly a stay away spot for me. That's all the games we have for today, guys, mostly because we got hit by a massive internet outage that knocked out our internet for a couple of hours while we were trying to record. So hit that like button for good luck on all of your bets. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on today's slate. Make sure you click on the link in the description to get over to stompthespread.com, and we will see you guys tomorrow for more sports betting action.